Leadership mindset is huge. Okay. That next phase of your life takes a change in mindset. A lot of people are hungry for that next phase of their life, but in the same token, not a lot of people want to change who they are for that next phase of their life. As your situation grows, your scope, your mindset has to grow with it. Right? There's 8 elements of successful leadership. Number 1, you have to be willing to face challenges head on. True leaders give results, not excuses. Like your scope has to broaden because your responsibility is broadened. Sometimes people hear this and they go, oh, well, I face challenges every day. You know, I get that hard customer. I get this, I get that. The difference is when you move into a leadership role, right? The point of you being in that leadership role is that you know that the people that you're leading are going to face challenges that they find hard to overcome. And when that happens, what do people tend to do? They tend to make excuses. Right? If you speak to anybody who has tried to succeed at something in their life and they haven't accomplished it, it's not typical for them to say, well, I didn't accomplish these goals because of me. Typically what they're going to do is they're going to blame circumstances and challenges that force their hand and force them not to succeed. I'm from the South Bronx, New York. I grew up in Mitchell Projects, okay? I go home right now and I go to the same bodega I used to buy a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich at when I was a kid. I promise you, I'm gonna see 2 or 3 people I used to play dominoes with in front of that bodega. Still on the same block, possibly in the same apartment, dressing the same, speaking the same. If you refuse to change yourself, guess what? Your circumstances aren't going to change. And I say that because I've spoken to people like that. And when people see you as a success and you come from humble beginnings, a lot of times people will tend to assume that you just got lucky. They'll tend to assume like, oh, well, he got good leads, or the company likes her better, and this is why opportunity found her. No one's given me the opportunity. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Right? This is the mindset of the masses. Even as a successful agent, you can't have that kind of mindset, right? But as a leader, you got to take it up a whole nother level. You keep your eyes on the goal, and many times that goal is right on the other side of that challenge. This is one of the reasons I'm always speaking about that rhino mindset and charging forward and getting through your obstacles. Because one of the reasons I've been able to excel as a leader is when an obstacle comes up, I don't freak out. I'm not sitting here, oh my gosh, the leads, right? So instead of freaking out and paying attention to the challenge that came in front of me, you know, I looked at it. You guys have probably seen, I used that meme from How I Met Your Mother, Barney, right? Challenge accepted, right? I use that a lot. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, well, this is the new norm. And since this is the new norm, I'm not going to let it defeat me. I'm going to beat it. As a leader, people are going to be looking at you for guidance. And if when challenges arise, right, even if you pretend it's no big deal, if internally it is a big deal, they're going to see it. So at the end of the day, we want to make sure that not only are we willing to face challenges head on, but that we are ready to face challenges head on and understand that it doesn't matter what challenge comes our way, we are more than capable of overcoming it. So as a leader, you need to be decisive. The word leader has a root word, lead. Lead, the word itself means that you're directing people and showing people the path. And when you're in a leadership role, whether it's a business, a sports team, the military, or in a sales organization or in some sort of management role, you are showing them the way to succeed. If you're going to be leading them towards somewhere, that means you should know what direction you're moving in. You have to have some vision. You need to know where you're going, and you need to always keep in mind, this is where we're going. And every decision I make is going to get us closer where? To where we're going, right? I can't ponder. I can't look left. I can't look right. I can't wait too long to make a decision, right? I can't wait too long to communicate a decision. And if I make a decision, I have to be confident behind it and stand behind it. Whether it works or it doesn't work, I have to stand on it, because whose decision was it? As the leader, it's mine. See, as a leader, you take full responsibility for every decision you make. And when you celebrate the success, you're celebrating the success with your team, and you're giving the whole team the credit for that success. And if that decision doesn't work and the whole team fails, you're taking full responsibility for the failure as well. And at the end of the day, this is one of the reasons a lot of people aren't decisive. Because they don't want the fallout if they're wrong. Right? I went over this when we spoke about iceberg success. You can't ever be successful without some failures. Indecisive people don't typically taste failure, which is why they typically don't taste success. Because every decision you make, there's some aspect of it that is a little bit of a gamble. But that doesn't mean we shy away from, making decisions. We know that, we learn from our failures, and we keep making decisions, learning from them and making better ones as we progress. Another thing about being decisive, does that mean that every decision I make is just on the whim? Absolutely not. And, the older I've gotten, the more I've learned this, right? When I was very young, I used to make very fast decisions, right? Very fast, impulsive decisions, right? And I had to learn over a period of time that I might feel this way. This might seem the best route to go, but let me take a quick pause and let me reflect on this, and let me not overanalyze it, but let me break it down a little bit so that when the decision is final, I don't have to backtail out of that decision. If, as your leader, I make decisions and I consistently backpedal away from the decisions that I made, how would you feel about me as a leader? Would you be confident in my leadership?
Absolutely not.
No, because you're always rocking back and forth, right? The worst thing that could happen is that you allow your indecisiveness to make people doubt following you. Because the only thing that makes you a leader is that there's actually people following you. That means that the people who are following you have confidence in who you are and what you bring to the table. This is all part of leadership. And it's not just what you do, it's the fact that you become this person, right? Where it becomes natural to work in this type of environment. You need humility. You need to be humble. Now, I'll be honest, on a first take for myself, my natural charisma sometimes would have people believe, he's not humble. He's cocky. He's arrogant, right? I've had that said. And everyone who has actually taken the opportunity to work with me typically changes their tune pretty quickly. You have to become the person who can maintain that level of success, right? So this is why it's so important to not only give feedback, but also receive it, right? And receive it in a way where it's not like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this and that. Nah, Now some people, they're just going to attack your character and stuff like that, right? That doesn't mean you allow, anybody to knock you off your game. But if you're getting told by multiple people that this is an issue or this is what's being perceived, then, more likely than not, it's something that you need to learn from. And yeah, it might seem like a small failure, but again, you have to what? Fail in order to succeed. And this is a characteristic that you develop. Another thing I want to point out is without humility, it is impossible for you to grow as a person. Remember, we keep saying it. You have to change and become a greater version of yourself to reach what? A greater level of success. Without humility, if you're not accepting the feedback, you're not looking, and that means you're not developing. People who are arrogant, they think they've made it already. These people are stuck because they believe I'm as good as I'm ever going to be. Right? And what ends up happening is they're never able to elevate their game because they don't feel they have to. And this is why humility is a mindset that every single effective leader needs to have. Ownership and self-accountability is, in my opinion, probably one of the most important aspects of effective leadership. And unfortunately, in the past 20 years that I've been in leadership roles, this is one of the main areas I've seen lacking in people who are in management or leadership roles. And it goes back not to even humility, but it goes back to the fact that people do not like to fail. As a manager, the worst thing you could do is blame your people. If you've been a part of Team Rhino for any period of time, you'll probably realize that one game I do not play is the blame game. A lot of people would think with my natural aggressiveness, my natural ability to be real loud and crazy sometimes, that I would have some real like, you guys better get it together. Meetings, but I don't think I've ever had one, right? The people who work for me don't work hard because they're scared Vic is going to lose it on them and fire them or yell at them or whatever the case is. The people who work with me and they work really hard for me because they know I love them. They know I'll run through a wall for them. They know that at the end of the day, I'm going to do everything in my power to never let them down. And they work hard because they don't want to let me down either. Right? And that comes from a level of love and accountability. Right? And that's where you want to be with your team. You know, that's where you want to be with your organization. Right? Taking ownership. Not of the success, but of the what? Failures. Taking accountability is a state of mind. And it's more than just what people see. Telling someone what they want to hear and really being accountable are two different things. Why? If you're truly accountable to your results, right? What's going to happen when you're not getting the results that are expected of you or that you expect from yourself? Because if you're not self-accountable, that means that my success is dictated by things that are out of my control. That's a frustrating place to be. If in your own mind, I have no control over my success, that means that I'm not self-developing and I'm not working on the most important commodity I have, which is me. The most important thing that you can invest in is what? Yourself. Okay? And when you're not accountable, that means you're not really willing to invest in yourself to get better at what you do and get better results. And see, that's more important to me. Looking into the future has everything to do with vision. What makes you a leader is that root word, lead. Where are you leading them to? Not the past, but where? Into the future. Okay? I'll be honest. This is a very hard aspect of leadership. Why? Because things change. When something is going good, it's very hard to make a change sometimes. Right? But sometimes there's a need to make a change to make it better. Right? And you don't want to allow your fear to make you stagnant. Because again, when we're speaking about growing into who we're called to be, and we're talking about growing into our success, we're also speaking about changing, right? I have to change. My business has to change. You know, my effectiveness has to change. And what that means is we're going to consistently be changing processes and changing different aspects of the business to move that needle forward. Okay? As leaders, guess what we are? We're needle pushers. Guess what? That comes with changes. And with changes, that comes with rocking the boat sometimes. We have to be so forward thinking that when new opportunities arise and new ways of doing things come up, we don't freak out, we don't run and hide, but we sit back and we look at the big picture. One of my mentors used to call it the TOP, right? The overall picture. Okay? He would say if you want to make it to the top, you have to make sure that you're looking at the overall picture. Why? Because sometimes you have to take a step back, step away from something to find the imperfections and see the changes that need to be made. I'll give you an example. I coach sports. There's a reason we do film days in football and lacrosse and stuff like that. Because while I'm on the field, there are mistakes that are made that I don't catch on the fly. But when we're watching the film, all of a sudden it's like, oh man, why did I call this play when I should have called that play? Why did I call this play and the kid went a totally different direction? Right? We have an opportunity to sit back and correct things. Okay? When you're looking into the future, what you have to look at is you have to say, okay, this is where I'm going. And what we're doing right now is just a small piece of the puzzle. That puzzle is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as time goes on, which means there's going to be changes. And the ability to roll with those changes and be effective during those changes is amazingly important to your success and the success of your team and any organization you're working within. A great leader is resourceful. Okay, now resourcefulness has a couple attributes. Okay, one aspect of it is being open to different approaches, but not only being available to different approaches, but looking for them. So when you're looking at being resourceful, you want to use everything that's at your disposal. As an effective leader, I want to use every resource that's at my disposal. But this is a part of being really successful. As a coach, I steal stuff from other coaches all the time. To me, this is the number one attribute I look for in future leaders: a heart for the people. Why? Majority of people who are looking to be in leadership responsibilities or leadership roles are more concerned with a title and a pay raise than they are actually investing in other people's success. Are leaders, not bosses. Bosses are different than leaders. In our culture, a lot of people want to be the boss, right? But not many people want to be a leader because a boss isn't accountable to anybody. They're the boss. Everyone's accountable to them. And that's one of the reasons people want to be a boss, because they want people to be accountable to them, but they don't want to be held accountable to anyone else. As a leader, you're held accountable not only to the company, but for the people that you're leading, because you're responsible for their success. How are you going to maximize each and every opportunity, which is each individual on your team or in your organization, if you don't honestly care if they hit their goals? One of my biggest keys to any success that I've had in any realm that I've been in this industry or in others, is relationship building. If you don't naturally care about helping someone meet their goals, and when you look at people, all you see is a dollar sign, that has a very short shelf life. Most people can genuinely tell when you really care about them. But I hope you're looking to build a legacy, because your legacy is more than just how much money you make in a certain period of time or what levels or titles that you're able to hit. Your legacy is how many people's lives can you positively affect over your lifetime. And that's my prayer for me, is that when it's my time to go, that I positively affected everyone who God had planned for me to affect in a positive way. Whether it's in the church, whether it's on a football or lacrosse field, whether it's in a sales company or in this sales career that I've been in throughout my life, whatever it is. And that's what I live for more than anything else: honesty and transparency. A leader's true responsibility and true success is created in creating relationships, relationship building. That's what leadership is all about. But at the end of the day, the root of all relationships is what? Honesty, trust.
Trust.
It's at the core of every relationship. Marriages fall apart all the time because there's a lack of trust in that relationship. In turn, a lot of organizations fall apart because there's a lack of trust in that organization. And if it's hard for me to trust you, it's hard for me to effectively work with you. Your reach as a leader is going to be dependent on how many relationships you're able to build. And if it's going to be an effective relationship, it has to be built on trust. Trust is built through your ability to be honest with people and transparent. In ministry, for instance, people trust me. Why? Because I wear my sins on my sleeve. When I mess up, I talk about my mess ups in sermons more than I should. But this is why there's so many scandals sometimes with these ministry leaders, right? Because you paint this picture like you're perfect and you're above reproach, and everybody has, something that they've fallen short of at times and mistakes that have been made. When you're putting all this together, right? And you really look piece by piece, right? Everything we spoke about, right? These are all pieces of a puzzle, right? You're willing to face challenges head on, right? You're able to keep moving forward no matter what arises. It doesn't shake you. You're focused, you're determined, you're moving forward, right? Why? Because you're leading. There's people behind you. So you can't stop, right? You're able to make decisive decisions and not just make a decision, but you're able to stick with it. So now what? People are trusting you, right? Because you make decisions. You don't wait for the fallout before you make a decision, right? People know you. They see your humility, right? They see who you are inside, right? Because leadership, at times, people just hear the voice. They just see the persona without seeing the person, right? Mm-hmm. And when you allow people to see the person beyond the persona, now they see that humility, and now they're buying into you as a person. When you take ownership of your success, your team's success, right? And you're accountable to yourself, right? And accountable to the people who follow you, guess what? Now people trust you even more because they don't feel like you're using them. Instead, they feel like you're working with them, right? Your ability to look into the future and have that vision, right? To the point that you're able to make changes when needed, right? And to keep broadening that scope, to be able to see when changes need to be made and be comfortable with it. It keeps elevating your game, moving you to the future. People see that. They get excited. They're following, right? You're resourceful, right? You're not doing the same thing over and over and over again, but instead you're sticking with what works and being resourceful, grabbing this, grabbing that, getting info from this area, getting information from that area, stealing stuff that works from this person or that person, using people as a resource, the internet as a resource, each other as a resource, right? Now, not only do people see where we're going and trust you, but the people who are following you begin to become resourceful as well, right? Which makes you being a leader that much simpler, right? Next thing, which is the most important, people see your heart. And if people are going to see your heart, you have to share your heart with people, right? A lot of people don't like to do that because that could lead to heartbreak. But guess what? The reward is worth the risk. And if people see the love for them in your eyes, you can hold them accountable, right? Because guess what? Love is reciprocated. So when you're spending that love on people and you're showing them you love them and you really do, people feel it. And now they respond to you differently because they know whatever you're telling them is coming from a position of love. And then lastly, that love is not overshadowed by lies, but instead it's built up on what? Trust. And the reason they trust you is because you are honest and transparent. You own your mistakes. You're honest with people. You show them what's expected of them. You don't manipulate them with games and things of that nature. So they trust what you say. And when people trust what you say, they'll take what you say for what it is. And all of this isn't something that you're faking, man. It's who you are. And this mindset change now elevates your game, right? And it's not like, oh, now I'm on a pedestal of leadership. Nah. But now everyone is looking at you like, I want to follow him. I want to follow her. There's an attraction to it, right? And as a leader, that's what you want to be. You want to be a magnet for success. Image that you put out there that's naturally inside of you, it's going to be reciprocated. And that's where your success is going to lie.